Welcome to the WealthWise Show. This program is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute investment, legal, or tax advice. Benowitz Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida. Registration does not imply any level of skill or training. Listeners should consult a qualified professional before making financial decisions. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Now let's get started with the WealthWise Show.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the WealthWise Show. I'm your host, Derek Johnson, and today we're going to be talking about something that is a little more niche, in particular for those who are in the FRS, the Florida retirement system, or those who work for the state. You may be wondering, what's the difference between the pension plan and investment plan? And today's episode, we're going to give you a, non-biased, fact-filled, comparison, so you can decide which is better for you. And that being said, just to get started, myself, Benowitz Wealth, we are not affiliated with the FRS or the state of Florida. And so this content is supposed to be for educational purposes only. It's not intended to be investment advice, tax advice, or anything such as that. So to get started, what is the pension plan and investment plan? Now, that's something I've discussed intensively over the last couple of months. So I'm not going to go, full detailed, what those things are, because, like I said, I went into them in the previous episodes. But the idea of this episode is to kind of help those who are thinking about which is best for them, and to give you a little clarity on what the pension plan, who it's for, and who is the investment plan is for. And so to get started, understanding what is the pension plan. Well, think of it as guaranteed income for life once you retire. And so that's pretty much what a pension is. It pays you a certain amount every month until you pass. Now, there's options in the pension plan that you can mix and match and do all sorts of things with, but I'm just trying to give you the gist, the basics for right now. Go back and watch my previous videos if you want to know more details. And the investment plan. Think of the investment plan more traditionally like a 401k. So you have your 457, you have a 403b, which is technically a 401k. But the investment plan, what it does is, instead of offering you a pension, it takes that money that you invest, that comes out of your check, into a plan that invests in, stocks and bonds and things like that. So when you retire, you don't get a guaranteed income for life, but what you do get is, a large amount of retirement money that's been invested for you. And so you can either keep it in the investment plan, or you can roll it over, et cetera. You can do all sorts of things with it. But ideally, people will say, well, why even go into the investment plan? If you're thinking about retirement, your focus is getting, your bills paid on a monthly basis. And so since you're going to be in a fixed income with Social Security and things like that, most people tend to go with the pension plan because, it does give you that safety net. It gives you that peace of mind, essentially. But not everyone wants the pension plan, because not everyone is planning to stay working with the state for as long as you need to be vested in the pension plan. So, for example, you could be a lawyer, a public defender, working for a county or something like that. And, your goal is to eventually start your own private practice. And so you're a public defender, you're doing X, Y, and Z, so for you don't plan on working, the number of years you need to be invested. You want to get maybe like a year or two of experience working with clients, working within the court system, and then you may want to go out and start your own practice. And so therefore, the investment plan for you is a little bit more flexible because, the time to be invested is lower than it is the pension plan. And since it's basically an account that you can just roll over, you can easily just roll it over whenever you feel like it after you leave the state. So you don't necessarily have to retire to get those benefits. With the pension plan, you do have to retire and you do have to be invested for a certain period of time to be eligible to get the pension. So those are going to be more of your career workers, like, your law officers, law enforcement, corrections, people who like, hey, this is my career, is working for the government. Teachers, I'm planning on being in this role for, until I retire. And so when you think about the when you think about the FRS or the state as a whole, there's many different options. There's many different job opportunities. And so to be flexible for those who, like I said, may want to switch careers and may not want to stay with the state long enough to be eligible for the pension, they may go with the investment plan. And so understanding your situation, your personal situation, is important because you pick which one is best for you. And so for those in the pension plan, is more suitable for those, like I said, who is, hey, this is going to be my career. I might move around, but I'm going to be a state employee for, until I retire. And then the investment plan is for those who may want that flexibility of being able to be vested in a short period of time, but also move around, may leave the state, or those who may have a significant amount of knowledge when it comes down to investments to want their money there. And then when they retire, they take over their own investments, or they may have a wealth manager that takes it over or something like that. And so understand that, the state is providing you with a great opportunity to have many different options when it comes down to saving for retirement, but also for those who may not be saving for retirement, but, may want to still benefit from like the investment plan and not be tied down to the state and be able to go off and do their own thing or, continue their career. And so that was pretty simple, right? At least I hope so. And so we're getting back in the swing of things. Another thing I wanted to talk about, besides the pension investment plan, is what we're going to be doing for as, the WealthWise Show. So we're still going on, planning on doing many more episodes. This episode is pretty short because it was a pretty simple topic, and hopefully I explained it in a way where it makes sense to you, the listener, the viewer. But we are planning on growing. So we're going to be, throughout the year, you might see us change, working on a studio situation. And, as you can see, we upgrade our camera and audio and things like that. So we are planning on growing and adding more people, guests, and things like that for this year. Expect the episodes to still be relatively bite-sized, unless we have a guest. Then it may be more of a feature length type of deal where, it's 60 minutes or something like that. But usually if it's just me and no co-host or no guest at the moment, then, I got ADHD. I can only talk about a topic for a short period of time before I start veering, clearly. And we're planning on really focusing on not just retirement content, because that's was my original goal. We still want to be a reliable source of information for those in the Florida retirement system, those who, are our core audience, or I would say my core audience and my clientele. But I don't want to just use this platform for, of course, marketing myself and my business. I want to use it for educational purposes for those who, no matter where you at, you'll be able to grasp the information. And so we're going to have more content with, FRS and all that stuff. You're going to be seeing that. But we're going to mix in other content that is just informational when it comes down to finances and money and building wealth and things like that. So with that being said, we'll look forward to 2026. I'm recording this in January of 2026. So if you're seeing this in like February, March, that's why. It's like, well, what are you talking about? You've been putting out episodes, so yeah. So I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you for tuning into another episode of the WealthWise Show. Next week, we're going to be talking about something else I don't remember yet, but you'll see in next week. All right, thank you.